The bomb dropped on Hiroshima in 1945, weighed around 4,500 kilograms, and killed over 1 lakh Japanese. Over time, significant strides have been made in miniaturizing the technology. Today's nuclear weapons are more compact, and usually weigh just a few hundred kilos, but have the potential to kill millions of people. These features make it possible to carry out an atomic attack using a variety of means, from ballistic to cruise missiles, reaching every part of the globe. Many of these weapons are much smaller, lighter, and easier to deliver than they used to be. In addition, their explosive power is much greater. Some of the nuclear weapons Russia has at its disposal today are over 50 times more powerful than those dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. President Vladimir Putin ordered Russia's nuclear forces into a higher state of alert. The first time the Kremlin has done so since the Russian Federation was established in 1991. What does Putin's order mean? Putin put Russia's nuclear forces on high alert during the invasion of Ukraine. What is the likelihood he would use nuclear weapons, and on who? And what? It has over 2,000 low-yield, non-strategic, aka battlefield nuclear weapons that Russia might use in a conventional conflict in Europe to compel the enemy to back down. Putin had been using nuclear saber-rattling during the build-up to his invasion of Ukraine, threatening nuclear war and conducting nuclear exercises. If Russia continues to fail in its conventional military efforts to take hold of Ukrainian cities and topple the Ukrainian government, Putin might see the explosion of a nuclear weapon in Ukraine or at sea as his best way to compel Ukrainians to surrender or prevent additional outside intervention. But Putin should know that using nuclear weapons would break the 75-year taboo the world has established against using such weapons. How likely is a nuclear attack? To date, the probability of Russia using nuclear weapons is still remote, but the risk is not zero. Instead, it is more likely that Putin will decide to use chemical weapons before nuclear ones. These weapons, besides being considered less taboo by the Russian president, make it easier to deny the evidence. Because, in the event of an attack, it is easier to blame the Ukrainian forces. Whereas a nuclear attack leaves no doubt as to who is responsible. However, it should not be forgotten that the ongoing war is not just between Russia and Ukraine, but between Russia and Ukraine with Western supplies and intelligence. Escalation cannot be ruled out. That is why the nuclear threat is so scary. What damage could today's nuclear weapons cause? If Russia were to deploy its entire atomic arsenal, part of the planet would become uninhabitable, and the world as we know it would no longer exist. But even the deployment of just a small part of this arsenal would have devastating long-term consequences. The atmospheric overpressure caused by the shockwave of the nuclear explosion would be able to destroy entire buildings up to tens of kilometers away, apart from those made of hardened reinforced concrete. Hundreds of thousands of people could be instantly killed or injured by debris or collapsing buildings. In addition, the explosion would create visible, infrared, and ultraviolet light waves that would combine to produce a kind of large, very hot fireball capable of burning everything, and creating third-degree burns within an even larger radius than the blast damage. Contaminated populations would have to deal with subsequent radioactive fallout, which can cause tumors and birth defects. This would be Putin's main target for nuclear attack on Ukraine. Power plants are common targets in modern conflict, because destroying them inhibits a country's ability to carry on fighting. But nuclear reactors are not like other energy sources. They contain enormous amounts of radioactive material, which can be released in any number of ways. Aerial bombing or artillery fire, for example, could break a reactor's containment building, or sever vital coolant lines that keep its core stable. So too, could a cyber attack that interrupts plant operations, as would a disruption of off-site power that nuclear plants rely on to keep functioning. What risks are there for the rest of the world? Today's atomic weapons technology makes it possible to wipe out entire metropolises, even over great distances. Every major city in the US is potentially half an hour from destruction. And every major NATO city in Europe is roughly 20 minutes from being destroyed by one of these ballistic missiles. The risk of nuclear war might well be low, because neither side would want to fight such a war that would have such awful consequences for everyone on the planet. But there is a risk that the kinds of technical errors and accidents listed here could lead accidentally to the use of nuclear weapons, as a nuclear power can incorrectly come to believe that they are under attack. And at the end, by considering the tension surrounding the whole world. Here are a few questions that needs to be answered. What if Russia would succeed in possessing aggressively over Ukraine? Would Russia stop after this, or become a threat to other nations? How long will the powerful countries forcefully occupy the weak countries? Does the use of nuclear weapon justified, keeping all threats in mind? What do you think? Let's comment below and tell us. Thanks for watching.